The Marlins just showed what this offense can be when the supporting cast shows up. 12 runs, 5 home runs, and a complete lineup effort in a much-needed win over the Phillies.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Jamie Goldman, and welcome into another edition of Locked On Marlins. Locked On is now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, I'll discuss why this Marlins team is still very much in the race for a playoff spot. Plus, I'll get into Joe Mack's emergence and what that could mean for the rest of the organization. And my man Agustin Ramirez, that's all coming up. But we start today with the offensive explosion from yesterday. The Marlins beating the Phillies 12-4, improving to 37-38 on the season. They salvaged the series after dropping the first 2 games in very ugly fashion. Last night was or yesterday afternoon, I should say, was a game that the Marlins absolutely needed. The Marlins offense got contributions all over the lineup. Every Marlins starter reached base yesterday, aside from Xavier. He struggled yesterday. He went 0 for 5. But everybody else went on base. Everybody else got a hit except for Otto Lopez, which is a little ironic because Otto Lopez has the most hits in baseball right now. But Otto Lopez did it differently yesterday, getting on base twice with 2 walks. But aside from Sanoja and Lopez, every Marlins starter got a hit yesterday. So the offense, much needed sigh of relief after yesterday's offensive performance when they couldn't get anything going in the first 2 games of the series against Zach Wheeler in Game 1. He shut out the Marlins, 7-0 loss for the Fish in Game 1, and they really struggled against Jesus Luzardo in Game 2 as well. The only Marlins run in that one came when they were already down 8-0. An Estuary Ruiz 2-run home run in that one was the only offense of the night. Ruiz, another 2 double game from him last night, had 3 hits. Ruiz has been so good for this Marlins team. He really has become a fan favorite and someone that has caught the hearts of Marlins fans here in his short stint here. 265 batting average, 4 home runs, 7 doubles on the season, also has a triple, 12 stolen bases. So really just an incredible signing. You know, you didn't really know what to expect when he was brought into this team, but he has been a very happy surprise for this Marlins team. Someone who we've kind of been harping on this year is our all-star from last season, Kyle Stowers, the guy that was expected to be a fixture in the middle of the Marlins lineup this season, a power guy, a good hitter, a good contact guy, someone who is reliable on the offensive side of the ball. And we haven't seen it this year. He has struggled. He has been very inconsistent. We've seen flashes of it here and there, but all things considered, he has not had it, and he has really been underwhelming for the Marlins so far this year. Well, last night, or yesterday afternoon, may have changed things. And this might be exactly what Kyle Stowers needed to really get his bat going for this Marlins team. Clayton McCullough said it not too long ago. He said, Stowers is the type of guy that can carry your offense for a week at a time. And we haven't seen it so far. So I was like, is Clayton blowing smoke at us? Like, what's going on? Is Stowers not right? Is he still dealing with that injury? Is he just struggling transition coming back? What's the deal? Well, yesterday, Kyle Stowers came through, and he finally looked like that Kyle Stowers that the Marlins have been waiting to see. Marlins fans have been waiting to see. 4 for 5 yesterday, 2 home runs, also added a double, 5 RBIs in yesterday's ball game. Just the breakout game that we've been waiting to see from Kyle Stowers was yesterday afternoon. He's really struggled all season long hitting with runners in scoring position. He went 2 for 2 with runners in scoring position yesterday. Listen, on the season, his batting average is still 226. He has 7 home runs. 2 of them came in yesterday's ball game. The talent is there, but the consistency just hasn't been. And listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself now because we've seen him kind of erupt like this season already. Less than a month ago, just about a month ago at this point, May 21st, he had 2 home runs in a game against the Atlanta Braves. And we came on this podcast and said, hopefully this is Kyle Stowers turning the corner, a 2 home run game. Maybe his bat's starting to finally arrive. He followed that 2 home run game by going 0 for 11 in his next 3 games. So I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but Stowers looked really good yesterday, really looked comfortable at the plate. He was seeing it well, and they weren't wall scraper home runs. I mean, he mashed these balls, the 2 home runs he had in that ball game yesterday, pinged right off that Toyota sign right out in right field on the road yesterday. So good stuff from Stowers. Can it stay consistent? That remains to be seen. But if it can, this Marlins lineup is finding itself. And Stowers would be such a huge boost. There's 3 guys on this Marlins lineup that have kind of been, playing jump rope with that Mendoza line all season long. And that has been Kyle Stowers, Jacob Marcy, and Owen Casey. All 3 of them hit a home run in yesterday's ball game. The one I'm concerned about the most is probably Jacob Marcy, just because he hasn't been able to find it, and there hasn't really been a rhyme or a reason to it. And this goes back all the way to last season. He, in his first month or so with the Marlins, was fantastic. And then we saw him kind of start to taper off towards the end of last season, and that slump kind of continued into this season. A sophomore slump is a normal thing for athletes, baseball players especially. Pitchers start to figure you out. You got to make adjustments to their adjustments. And that's the stage that we see Jacob Marcy in right now. But I will say, aside from his bat, he has made his impact felt in other areas of the ball game. His defense has been fantastic out in center field. This past weekend, the Max Meyer start against Paul Skeens, that could have went a lot differently if Jacob Marcy doesn't make that diving play out in center field with bases loaded to end that inning and get the Marlins out of a jam. He doesn't make that play, the Marlins might be 3 games under 500 right now instead of just 1. So Marcy has really made his impact defensively as well as running the bases. He has 17 stolen bases on the season this year. That leads the Marlins. So yes, his bat hasn't been there. Hopefully the home run yesterday can kind of tick him in the right direction here, but all things considered, he's still batting .202 on the season. As I mentioned, kind of going up and down right around that 200 mark for his batting average. Not what you want to see from your outfielders that you're trying to get a consistent bat out of. And the next name that leads me to is another outfielder who has been very inconsistent, and that's Owen Casey. Casey also had a home run yesterday. But same as Marcy, he's kind of been hanging right around the 200 batting average number, and that's just not sustainable. We have guys on this team, Otto, Lopez, and Xavier Edwards, who have been Mr. Consistent, both of them. They've been the driving force of this Marlins offense this season. Those two, and you add Liam Hicks in there as well. And that's really been the main source of your offense. So if you can get guys like Kyle Stowers, like Owen Casey, like Jacob Marcy, Eury Ruiz, I know he didn't do it yesterday, but Javier Sanoja, guys like this, the supporting cast, if you will, start to really pick it up, then the Marlins have an ignited lineup with guys all across this lineup that can make some noise, not just 1 or 2 guys up at the top who are really trying to keep their head above water, keeping this Marlins offense scoring runs. Instead, you got 5-6 guys, a Marcy, a Casey, a Stowers, a Ruiz, to go along with the Lopez, Hicks, and Edwards at the top of your lineup who have been doing it all season long. Then your Marlins offense, turns into what is sometimes a concern, like we saw in the first 2 games of this series, to one of your strengths. Listen, the Marlins have the guys on this roster. We've seen each of them perform well for extended periods of time. We just haven't seen it consistent, and we haven't seen multiple of these guys doing it at the same time. So it's really big for that supporting cast to get going here if the Marlins want to be serious about competing, which we're almost halfway through this thing, and they're only 2 games out of a playoff spot. So, I see a lot of discourse online. The Marlins aren't a real contender. The Marlins aren't a real threat. Why not? Why not? The Marlins have dealt with a ton of injuries. The Marlins have been 7-8 games under 500, and they've climbed their way back. They're playing their best baseball of the season. If you take a look at June as a whole, I think the sky's the limit for this team, but the supporting cast is going to be very important for this Marlins team. And one guy on that supporting cast who has been a major boost for this Miami Marlins team has been the man behind the plate, Joe Mack. Joe Mack emergence has just been huge for this Marlins team. And coming up, I'm going to tell you exactly why Joe Mack's emergence has changed the entire outlook of this Marlins roster. Baseball season is here, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every single game. For tomorrow's Marlins-Giants game, the Marlins have a 55% probability to win, according to Kalshi. So if you make a $100 trade and the Marlins get the job done, that's a $170 payout. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contracts trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success is not just about talent. It's about having everyone working towards the same goal, and that's true in sports just like it is in business. It's kind of like the Marlins making the decision to call up Joe Mack earlier this season. The organization was aligned on this decision and has already started to pay off for the fish. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should go to Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Baseball is finally back, and to celebrate, I'm giving you a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Go to lockedonmarlins.supercast.com and use code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to our private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use code FINALLY to claim your free month. Now, I teased this a moment ago. I even talked about it in my ad a little bit, but Joe Mack, ladies and gentlemen, has arrived on this Marlins team. Yesterday, he continued on his hot streak, 2 for 3 in yesterday's ballgame, added a home run, had 2 RBIs, walked once as well. And he also adds confidence in your game with his skills behind the plate. It has been night and day since the Marlins have called up Joe Mack. It has been such a relief for this Marlins team not have to worry about blocking and about guys running on them and about, a wild pitch not being blocked by a good catcher. All of these things the Marlins no longer have as a concern with Joe Mack coming up. On the season, Joe Mack batting .260 with 3 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he has really turned it on in the month of June. So far, in 12 games in June, batting .361 with 3 home runs. All 3 of those home runs coming in this month. One of them coming in yesterday's ball game. One of them coming this past weekend against Paul Skeens, of all people. So Joe Mack has really been getting it done on both sides of the ball and has been just a big boost for this Marlins roster this season, which brings me to my next point. There's a big elephant in the room when we talk about Joe Mack and him being called up and how he has really emerged on this Marlins team. And that elephant goes by the name of Agustin Ramirez. He is still out in Jacksonville wasteland. He is still down in AAA, and it has been probably, if you take a look at everyone on this Marlins roster, especially position players, there's some pitchers we can talk about, but he has probably been the biggest disappointment for the Marlins so far this season. A lot of that not really his fault. It's not his fault that Liam Hicks emerged at the beginning of this season and was hitting the cover off the ball for the first couple of months. It's not his fault that Joe Mack has been called up and has really steadied the ship behind the plate. And also his bat has been really good, has really come along so far this season, as I just kind of talked about. Those are out of Agustin's control. And his play hasn't been good enough to warrant himself a spot back on this Marlins roster. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. He's had the opportunity to go down into AAA and reset his game, but he's really kind of been underwhelming in AAA. He's batting .237 in AAA, and in his time in the majors this season, he was batting .230 with only 2 home runs. So I don't see a path for Agustin to get back on this Marlins roster this season, at least not with a ton of confidence. You got guys like Griffin Conine coming back anyways. That's just going to create more of a logjam in this organization. Now, it's tough to get rid of a guy like Agustin because of all the potential he has, but the Marlins have big organizational questions right now with their starting pitching depth being so lacking as it is. I mean, yes, they've kind of piecemealed this thing together and they've been able to string together some wins and some successful baseball with Sandy Alcantara and Max Meyer really carrying the load recently. And, Tyler Phillips spotting in, Ryan Gusto slotting in, Lake Bacher slotting in, some bullpen games, John King. The Marlins have really, it's taken everyone, all hands on deck for this Marlins team since those injuries have happened. My thought process is you have a guy like Agustin who does have a lot of potential. I'd test the waters with him. I would kind of dangle him as a trade bait right now and see what other teams would offer. And I'm not saying they're going to go out and get a Paul Skeens for him. Let's not get crazy. But I could see a team seeing value in a guy like Agustin Ramirez, who has shown flashes of being a very solid power hitter. He's a right-handed bat that can go up against lefties. Like Agustin Ramirez, yes, I've kind of been talking about his poor play this season, but he has a lot of good qualities as well. He's got a lot of potential. He's still a very young bat with a lot of power and some sneaky speed as well. Maybe there's a team out there that thinks they can develop him into a decent catcher and have him be another bat in their lineup. Or maybe there's a team out there that's really struggling on the bat side, has a little bit of surplus on the starting pitching side, and that can be a favorable swap for both teams right now. Because what the Marlins are doing with 2 starting pitchers, and yes, help is on the way. We have Eury Perez coming back very soon. He's making a rehab start in AAA today, but even when he comes back, you still only have 3 starting pitchers. Let's talk about a perfect world where Jansen Junk comes back and he's your 4th guy. And then even if Tyler Phillips continues to be strong and he's your 5th guy, still you only have 5 guys. You're 1 injury away from going right back to being in a spot where you have to do these openers and spot starts and things of that nature. I think it would really benefit the Marlins right now if they took a look into the trade market and see what they can get for a guy like Agustin Ramirez and see if they can land a starting pitcher. I'm not saying this guy has to be an all-star. This guy has to be something crazy. I'm just looking for someone that can be somewhat reliable, go out there every 5 days, give you 5 to 6 innings of decent baseball, and put you in a position to eat some innings 1 and put you in a position to stay above water and win some games 2. I don't think that's so crazy for the Marlins to do. We've seen Bendix be aggressive in the past, both with the Marlins and his time with the Rays. So I do think that this could be something we see on the horizon here moving forward. And I hate to say that because, if you've been watching this show, I'm one of the biggest Agustin Ramirez fans there is out there. But, with how well Joe Mack has played and how underwhelming Agustin Ramirez has played, both offensively and defensively, it's time to start having that conversation. And the fact that the Marlins are so beat up right now. And I want to end by saying this. I talked about in a perfect world with Eury coming back, Junk coming back, Phillips settling into that fifth starter position. That the key words there was in a perfect world. We do not live in a perfect world. Chances are, not all of those things are just going to fall into place for the Marlins. So I really think it's important for the Fish to bolster up this rotation and get another arm in here. And one, provide some competition for these guys, and two, see what we can find and maybe light a spark with another arm coming into the rotation, because I haven't seen it from Braxton Garrett. I haven't seen it from Ryan Gusto. I want to see it from Tyler Phillips, but honestly, I'd rather see Tyler Phillips go back into the bullpen where he was so good to start this season. So I really think it's important for the Marlins to go out and get some help starting pitching-wise if they are serious about contending this season. But coming up, I'm going to tell you why, despite all the ups and downs, despite all the injuries, the Marlins are still very much in the mix for a playoff spot this season. Have you ever noticed that the second you search for something online, ads for that exact thing start following you everywhere? Or maybe you're traveling, trying to access a website, stream a game, or watch content you normally use at home, and suddenly you're hit with that message: this content isn't available in your region. That's why more and more people are turning to Proton VPN. Proton VPN is a secure VPN service designed for people who want more privacy, more security, and more control over how they experience the internet. It helps you keep your online activity private, protects your data on public Wi-Fi, and gives you access to the internet the way it should work: open, secure, and on your terms. Unlike most VPNs, Proton is backed by strong European privacy laws, has a strict, independent, verified no-logs policy, and is built by a company focused on protecting their users, not tracking them. In baseball, we spend a lot of time talking about gaining an edge and controlling what you can control, and the same idea applies online. Having the right tools can make a huge difference in your day-to-day experience. Sometimes it feels like the internet knows what you're thinking before you do. You search for one thing and it follows you everywhere. I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of just how much information they're sharing online, and that's why privacy tools are becoming more important. It's easy to get started. Right now, Proton VPN is offering our listeners 70% off a 2-year plan when you go to protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb. That's protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb for 70% off your 2-year plan. That's protonvpn.com/lockedonmlb. Workplace chaos can show up fast. The problem is that finding the right candidate can take a lot more time than most businesses can afford. That's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. One great addition can have a ripple effect on everyone around them. Just think about what happened in 2003 when the Marlins made a midseason manager change and hired Jack McKeon. When you find someone who brings the right skills, attitude, and experience, it makes the entire group better. That's why finding qualified candidates matters so much, and why tools like Indeed Sponsored Jobs can make that process easier. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Marlins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, folks, just a couple of minutes left here, but I wanted to get into this playoff race. And I see a lot of people talking about the Marlins and them not being a serious contender, not being a serious team. And we've talked about, the ceiling of this team, the goal of this team, what would look like a successful season for this team. And I have said all year, and I'll continue to say, at the very least, the Marlins' goal for the season, for it to be dubbed a successful year, should be finishing above 500. And they're teetering right around that right now. They have been for a while. They're one game under 500, 37-38. But you got to think, this team was 8 games under 500 just not too long ago, about a month ago. So this Marlins team is trending in the right direction. And who's to say they can't continue trending in the right direction? They have weathered the storm of injuries so far this season, and there's been a lot of them. And we've talked about them a lot on this podcast, but mainly Eury Perez, Jansen Junk, Robbie Snelling, all going down with injuries in the last month or so, and not one of them has come back. Robbie Snelling won't come back at all. He's done. He's shelved for at least next season. He went down. He's going to need Tommy John surgery, so he'll be out for an extended period of time. They said Eury Perez was going to be out for 8 weeks, or that was expected at least, but apparently he's been recovering really well. He's making a rehab start today. Depending on how that rehab start goes, they might call him right up. They might give him one more rehab start, so we'll be on the lookout for that one. I'm sure Ethan Ibe, my partner, he's got you covered tomorrow. I'm sure he'll give you an update on that rehab start that he's making today, so stay tuned for that one. But point being, the worst is behind us. The Marlins have already dealt with a ton of injuries and proved they can deal with them. The Marlins have already dealt with the lineup being so constricted by only really Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, and Liam Hicks playing well. In recent weeks, we've seen guys start to pick it up. Guys like Heriberto Hernandez, guys like Joe Mack, guys like Owen Casey. We saw Stowers hit 2 home runs yesterday. So this lineup is starting to figure things out. And you take a look at this playoff race, the Marlins are only 2 games back right now. And we got a lot of baseball to play. And the Marlins have an opportunity right now coming home, a place they've played well. The Marlins, a couple games over 500 at home on the season. And they're playing against a couple of teams that have really struggled this year. We got the Giants and the Rangers coming in for our next 6. The Giants right now 31-43 on the season, and the Rangers not much better, 35-38. So 2 teams that the Marlins absolutely could hang with and should look to win both of those series and find themselves a couple of games over 500 and really start trending in the right direction. And I'll finish off by saying I want to give a ton of credit to Sandy Alcantara. We've talked about him a lot. He's one of the best Marlins to ever do it. But every time the Marlins need him to come through, he does. And yesterday's ball game, you look at it as a whole, it wasn't Sandy's prettiest ball game. 8 hits allowed, 4 runs allowed. What does he deserve credit for? Well, of those 8 hits, a ton of them were just kind of cruel towards Sandy. The exit velocity of some of those hits were just ridiculous. For his first 5 hits that he let up, these were 4 of the exit velocities. 63 miles per hour, 76 miles per hour, 86 miles per hour, 68 miles per hour. So not a lot of loud contact, some seeing eye singles, and balls just finding holes in yesterday's ball game. But Sandy, even after allowing those 4 runs in the first 2 innings of the ball game, only 2 of those runs were earned, by the way. Marlins had a couple of errors yesterday, including one by Kyle Stowers. He's still making that transition over to first base. It was an ugly play. Sonoha whipped it over to first, trying to make a double play, and the ball, kind of went by Stowers, and some runs scored on that one. So an ugly play there from Stowers. But Sandy was able to weather the storm and get through that start and still give you 6 innings with only 2 earned runs. Another quality start for Sandy Alcantara, another win for Sandy Alcantara, and the Marlins salvage the series and can look at this series and say, not that bad. We lost 2 out of 3, opposed to getting swept, getting blown out in 2 out of the 3 games. Maybe even if things didn't go well for Sandy yesterday. Yesterday's game could have went a lot differently. So yesterday was a big win for the Marlins to kind of steady the ship and let themselves believe in themselves and say to themselves, hey, we're here. We can beat the Philadelphia Phillies. I know that we've struggled against them, but we've proven we can beat them. We've proven that we can beat them in their building, and they did that yesterday. So that was big for the Marlins to kind of salvage that and come back home feeling a little bit better about themselves. As I mentioned, playing against some teams that are a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but, not as tough as the Philadelphia Phillies. It's crazy. The Marlins have really struggled with the Phillies and the Braves, 2 teams that the Marlins absolutely cannot struggle with if they want to be a serious ball club. But you take a look at some other teams that they've played. Marlins looked really good against the Dodgers. Marlins looked really good against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Fish have played well against some good teams here. They just have struggled against their division opponents who have really kind of owned them. But then you take a look at the other divisional opponents. The Marlins have really had the Nationals number and have kind of been back and forth with the New York Mets. So they find themselves right in the middle of the division, right in the middle of the wild card race. There are 7 teams that are separated by 3 games right now in the National League. So that wild card race is as tight as can be, but the Marlins are right in the thick of all of it. And who's to say the Marlins get healthy? The Marlins bats get a little bit hotter. I see no reason why this team at the very least shouldn't be competing for a playoff spot down the stretch here. I don't see this team falling off. I don't. With the starting pitching coming back, the way they've shown they can weather the storm through the injuries, this Marlins team is here and they have a clear goal. And that's to compete. Obviously they're trying to develop and get better, and they don't have the same resources as a lot of these teams do. That being said, they're still right in the mix. This is a Peter Bendix team. The same structure, the same blueprint that he built with the Tampa Bay Rays all those years. And those Rays teams went toe-to-toe with the Yankees of the world, with the Red Sox of the world. With all of those AL powerhouses, the Rays were always in the mix, and the Marlins are trying to do the exact same thing. That's going to do it for my episode here today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Locked On Marlins. Ethan Ibe will be back with you tomorrow to give you all the news and analysis for the weekend series against the San Francisco Giants. He'll get you set and ready to go for that one. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Marlins so you get all of our latest episodes. You can find Locked On Marlins on social media at LO_Marlins. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Marlins ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonmarlins.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And for those of you on audio, your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. That's going to do it for me today. Thanks for joining, everybody. And as always, have a good day and go Marlins.